competing. So my oldest is 20. I have a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, 11, and a 9-year-old. I have to think of them in order or else I forget their ages. But um, I have two that have a disability. One with his primary diagnosis with autism, dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD, and my oldest who has ADHD. So we are here and hopes to present and provide some assistance and support for you guys. So we hope you enjoy the presentation. Mia, you're okay.
I noticed. I just want to remind everyone again, if you have not filled out the pre-survey, to please do so. And I'm going to share our screen now. So today's presentation is set for autism. This thing, actually, the person who created this was Karen Myers and Kimberly Beard from Southern Connecticut State University through their Center of Excellence on Autism Spectrum Disorders. Oh, it's not letting me go to the next slide. Okay. So at the end of this, I will be sharing the link so that everyone has access to the digital SIT kit. But if you do prefer it in Spanish or you would just want to have both, please let me know and I'll be sure to share both links with you as well. What is SIT for Autism? SIT for Autism was designed to provide information for parents and caregivers to share with their babysitters about caring for children with autism. So the idea behind this was that when children who are on the spectrum were being taken care of by others that were not relatives, sometimes folks would be kind of scared in how they would provide that care. And I know that I experienced that. I don't know if Jovi has, only because their needs can sometimes appear for some that don't know how to care for them somewhat challenging, maybe even scary at times if they don't understand the behaviors. So the idea is that we would give these providers some tools, but we also include parents because sometimes parents can use new ways or strategies in supporting their children. Why SIT for Autism? For parents of students with disabilities, they have difficulty leaving their children home without knowledgeable babysitters. A lot of times families may choose not to go out, not even work sometimes if they don't have to, because they're afraid that they're not going to have quality care. Many parents want to be involved in PPT meetings and other educational decisions pertaining to their children, but they can't leave their children alone. Sometimes families have brought their children to the school setting, but it just makes it harder for them to concentrate, or maybe they do bring them out into the community and they feel like if they just had support, it would be easier for them. Parents need to feel comfortable leaving their child alone with a babysitter. Feeling comfortable would be a big stress relief. And our goal is that SIT for Autism will provide parents and caregivers materials and some strategies that they could share with their caregivers in order to care for their children with autism. Today's objectives is we're going to give you a definition, and this definition was one that was put together again through Southern. It's a way to understand strengths and challenges of individuals that are on the spectrum, a way to identify useful strategies that they could use with their children, and how to use the SIT kit materials to prepare for babysitting. So we've given a brief introduction for ourselves, but we would like to hear from you. So if anyone wants to go first, feel free to share your name, your child's name, if you're comfortable, a little bit about your child and why you are here today. I'll stop sharing quickly just so that we could do that. And we're a small group right now, so it's kind of perfect.
Hey, my name is Kevin Maxwell. I'm a school social worker, and I came to get information. There are a large group of small children in my building who are autistic, and I wanted to get some information to share with families to help with the situation that's been discussed.
Oh, this is great, Kevin. So I think you may benefit from getting the SIT kit in both Spanish and English, because then you can share the handouts with families.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll make sure to share the links with you. Perfect.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Michelle, and I'm a mom of two kids, both autism. One's 30, and my other daughter is 26, and they're out of school. and they're in support programs now. I'm just looking to see basically how and what services are available where I can like leave them for one night to go away, find a babysitter type of thing. I don't leave them, so I'm one of the parents. I don't leave them. It's a lot for me to leave them. So, and I was just getting information.
Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that, Michelle. We have Steve, we have Stephen, and we have Tiffany. Who would like to go next? I don't want to push anybody, so.
I can go. I'm gonna
Thank you,
phone.
Stephen.
My name's Steve McKenna. It's I'm taking this class because my partner, she has several siblings, all from 18 to 8, all with autism on varying spectrums. A couple are nonverbal, and I'm looking for tips and things if I ever have to be the caregiver or babysitter or anything of that nature for them.
Oh, that's wonderful, Stephen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Steve and Tiffany. Well, I don't want to push anyone, so if you're not comfortable sharing now and you want to wait, we will give you that space. But I want to make sure that I preserve your time, and I will move along. I think there's a message in the chat box, so that's another way. If you want to do your introduction in the chat box, feel free to do so. If you want to say something and we don't catch it, please use the little emotion so that we know, like your hands, or put something in the chat box, and Joviana is going to be monitoring that as well. And if you're watching us through Facebook, because we are connected, feel free to put your intro in the chat box as well, and we'll try to go back and forth between the Zoom chat box and also Facebook as well.
Yes. So Steve is having technical difficulties, and then we just had another person enter, which is Stephen as well. So Stephen, we were doing introductions. Not sure if you want to introduce Stephen Wu. Okay. So Steve did say that he, Stephen Neff, he has a grandson. He's a grandparent to an 8-year-old nonverbal.
Thank you for joining us. So this is a definition that was done for this particular SIT program. Autism is a condition that impacts how the brain works. And they gave a very brief description of what that looks like. But we want to also be able to look at what the common strengths are of children with autism. And these are things that they came up with. So stamina, they enjoy routine and schedules. A lot of them actually thrive off of routines. Good long-term memory, accurate with learned tasks. They tend to be rule followers, good recall of visuals and memorizes easily. Decode written language, follows concrete rules. They can be very honest, maybe even to a fault. And they can also be visual learners. So when we think about the children in your home or that you've had experience with, do you want to share some common strengths that you've noticed? This is an opportunity for you guys to share out.
Yeah, I'll go. It's Michelle. I've noticed that my girls, when I step back and not hover over them so much, that they're actually able to use a microwave, cut a bagel, and get their own breakfast. So they actually can maneuver and get things done in the kitchen when I don't hover.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else want to contribute?
I will. I noticed with many of my students who are on the spectrum that they love to learn. They're very excited about learning, and they tend to focus on things that they're really interested in for a very long time, whether it be coloring or drawing. I get a lot of creative children. When you give them, this one young man when you give him a pen or paper, he's constantly drawing these incredible pictures. So being creative and loving to learn is what I've noticed.
Thank you for sharing that as well. A lot of times we think of what they can't do, but sometimes if we give them the space and we provide the tools, we can see that there are a lot of strengths and that they can do many things. Next. So some of the challenges for children with autism spectrum disorders can come, or they stem from some behaviors, and a lot of times behavior is a form of communication, not being able to communicate what their needs are and what that looks like. And the other thing that we notice is social communication. So we're going to watch a video, and this is just a quick glimpse of how they may act. And again, this isn't for every single person, but these are some of the common things that we've seen. And these are some challenges for children with that are on the spectrum. Oops, hold on.
I wanted to share a comment by Steve. He says that Ethan, which is his grandson, definitely thrives on routines and schedules.
Thank you for sharing. Hold on, I have to move this section that we want. Are you guys able to see this video? Jovi, can you see the video that I'm trying to show? I can't hear you.
Yes, we have a yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
response.
Hold on. Trying to get to the right section. Can you guys hear the video?
We hear it
No?
really far, very, very, very faint.
All right, so I'm gonna have to take
hear
off
it
the
at all.
headset. Hold on. No puedes hacer ruido, lindo.
Put their fingers or they engage in repetitive movements with their body, such as jumping in place, hand flapping,
Kumari, could you start it from the beginning?
or autism may engage in repetitive movements with their body, such as jumping in place, hand flapping, toe walking, or spinning in circles. They may also seek visual sensory stimulation, such as eye gazing or peripheral eye gazing, when they look out of the corner of their eyes. Visual self-stimulatory behavior may also occur when a student gazes at their hands or other objects, such as watching items spin, watching items fall, or looking at items that are lined up. Students with autism may also have auditory self-stimulatory behaviors in which they repeatedly make sounds or noises in order to hear them. students with autism may also engage in oral self-stimulatory behaviors. For instance, they may play with their saliva, put their fingers or objects in their mouths, or grind their teeth. Another way that students with autism may gain sensory input is through their tactile system or through touch. For example, they may have favorite materials to touch, such as soft or fuzzy items. Finally, students with autism may gain sensory input through repetitive smelling behaviors, such as picking up items and smelling them before using the items, or smelling their hands. Now you have learned that the diagnosis of autism is made up of difficulties in socialization.
The purpose of this video was to just show you some behaviors that you may see in the students that you care for or the children that are in your home. So we wanted to share that. Let me go back to the presentation, and I'll also share the link in case you want to have it for future reference. So that's the link from the video. And you're also going to get this presentation. Okay, so we're back. So ways that we can see that the children may act is they may play differently with toys or objects. So not necessarily in the way that you would think they would. They may have some sensitivity to sound, taste, and touch. Usually that's sensorial. So we want to think about the surroundings for the child, the environment. You want to try to prepare the environment as best as possible. Difficulty to change in activities, routines, schedules. They want things to stay the same. They need things to stay the same. I know with my son, I remember he would have meltdowns. And I remember his therapist one time explaining it to me that for him, it would be like if I came home and all of a sudden my entire bedroom set was in the living room and my living room set would be in my room. So that would be something big because now I have to make all these changes because I couldn't understand why things that to me seemed so small to him were so big. So that was kind of a way to look at it. They thrive off schedules and routines, as mentioned earlier. It's like they look forward to it. I know that there was a time when my son would go to school on a Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. He struggled the rest of the day on Tuesday. Like it was just so hard because in his head, he had gym on Monday. So his first day back after the weekend meant that he would have gym. But if he would go to school on Tuesday, there's no gym on Tuesday. So again, his behavior would change significantly because his routine was different. They may hit, they may yell, they may argue with you or themselves. And again, it's not for every single person, but it's some behaviors that we can see. They may not make eye contact. And a lot of times people naturally will tell a child, look at me in the eyes when I'm talking to you, raise your eyes. They want the child to make eye contact. And that's a way for them to feel that the child is understanding what's being said. But for some kids, they just cannot make eye contact. And what kinds of accommodations can we make for them? They may use repeated physical movements, flapping, rocking, clapping, sounds. And for some folks, they don't really care. But for others, that it may be hard for them to see that. They don't understand what that body movement is. So sometimes there's way to work with the child so they can reduce or replace those behaviors. But it's called stimming. And for some kids, they really need that in order to feel grounded. So those are just some behaviors that you may see. Part of the SIT kit that we're going to give you is helpful hints to help reduce anxiety and minimize challenges. So this sheet that you see, you're going to see in the kit. We would review the SIT kit for preparation guide for successful strategies so that parents could use. So even though this is meant more for the caregivers, we want to make sure that parents also have access to this. So if you're a daycare provider, if you're a school, staff, feel free to make copies and share this with the parents, because maybe this is just another tool that they could have so that they could share with their in-home caregivers, or maybe even daycare centers, or after school programs, summer school, not summer school, what is it, summer camp programs.
Yeah.
Sick kid is great. Yep.
I wanted also to add to that, that you can even, I know that some families even use this as, you know, when you get a new team, when your child is going from one grade to the next, is a good way to give some information. You know, you already have the documents, the forms filled out. You can even give it to your child's new teacher, special education teacher, you know, speech and language, because this gives them sort of an idea or picture of your child, and it gives them really good information about your child, about his routines, his likes and dislikes, the way that he communicates. So it's a really good way to use that as well for others to get to know your child, even in the school setting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joey, for sharing. And you'll see this in pages 1 through 12 to the kit. So this is just an example of the introduction. Setting for individuals with autism can be challenging because no two children with autism are alike. And in order to make babysitting experience as positive as possible for all involved, some preparation work is recommended. That's why this SIT kit was created. They also put together these information sheets. And a lot of times you don't naturally think of it, but this is great if you do have it handy. You could put it in a safe place, but make sure it's visible and accessible for everyone in the home, and also anyone that's coming into the home for the first time. It could even be a grandparent. It could be an uncle and aunt, an older sibling that comes to visit. Household hints. A lot of times kids have preferences of places they prefer to be in the home, or maybe it's an off limits room. So rooms I like to be in, where in the home they like to be in, rooms that I should not be in, whether it's the person caring for the child or the child. Also how to turn off the water, gas, and oil if that's necessary, and any other important information you may want to share. Also medical information. A lot of times we kind of know this as the primary caregiver, but sometimes we don't always share it. I know every time I go to the doctor, they always ask me, what medications are you allergic to? If I don't have it written down, I do forget because I have many. So think about making sure that you have this in a place that's visible and that everyone knows what those medication allergens are. Or maybe it's a medication that the child needs to take. When should they take it? What's the action plan to taking it? I have 2 kids with significant allergies. So we have not only an allergy plan, but we also have an asthma plan as well for school and home. What medical conditions they have, and any allergens that you may know of. And then in the event that they need to do something, what is your preference? You know, should they contact someone right away? Should they administer medication? And if the medication it has not been taken, then what should be the next step? Maybe there's special equipment in the home that the child prefers or that you use when you know your child is having some significant behavioral challenges. What is the equipment? When should they use the equipment? How to use the equipment? If there's any special instructions. If you do have a schedule that you know works, you want to make sure you share it with those caregivers, because some kids, they work better maybe in the afternoon, and if you give them rigorous work in the morning, they may not do as well if they did it in the afternoon or in the evening. And these are just some tips. You also want to think about transition, what works for transition. I know some families use a timer, some families use a countdown. So keep that in mind. They may say you have, I don't know, when I count to 5, or, you know, here you have a visual of a time clock. For some kids, this really works because they kind of see it. But for other kids, they need constant reminders. So, you know, 5 minutes out, 2 minutes out, 1 minute to go. And that could be helpful. These are some other sheets that are part of the SIT kit. You know, what are the meals and snacks that they prefer? What time should they eat? Where should they eat? If there's any food allergies, what does that look like? Any symptoms that they may experience? Snacks is a big thing because sometimes snacks is, sometimes people use as a reward system. But for some kids, like a child with Prader-Willi, you have to be very careful how you're using food. So keep that in the back of your mind. You want to speak to the parents, make sure that you're not using food as a reward and then it backfires. If there's a specific bedtime routine, you know, where does the child sleep? Who does the child sleep with? If the child has a special blankie or a toy, you know, where is it? Is it easily accessible? I know my youngest, he would have, we call it a paño. He would have like this little blankie and he needed it. And if he did not have it, sleep was really hard for him. So we always had to make sure we had an extra one and always accessible. When you need help, maybe the child's behavior is such that you've tried everything that was, you know, put on paper for you. It's just not working. So who should you call if there's anyone that can be a backup support? Are there any sensory issues? And maybe parents don't always have that language to say my child has sensory issues, but they may say my kid doesn't like food that's too soft, or they have a preference for chicken nuggets or fries. So maybe you could use that language as well. Dressing, I know for some kids, dressing could be um, difficult for them. Anything that they have to pull up, they may not have the fine motor skills to do so independently, or maybe they don't like to feel the tags on their body, you know, from their shirts or their pants. So when is assistance needed for bathing, grooming, toileting, and any special instructions? So this is meant for you guys as parents to fill out, to share with those caregivers, whether it's in school or outside of school. These are now for behavior supports. And this is kind of a good way to kind of helping them. And if there's something that you're doing in the home that works, that you notice is beneficial, maybe sharing it out with those caregivers to see if they can implement and replicate those things. A lot of times students or kids that have significant behavior challenges in school, they do what's called an FBA, a functional behavior assessment, and they try to figure out the function of the behavior. So here's a way of kind of putting this together in form of a behavior summary. So what's the behavior, you know, what the hypothesis is for this behavior and what interventions may work. So they gave an example, maybe it's hitting the head on the table, maybe it's if they want something, then they can use pictures to highlight their favorite things or of choice. So these are just some helpful hints that they want to share to reduce anxiety and minimize some of those challenges. Using visuals to structure transitions. It could be so helpful when the child can see what to expect next. If you're not talking, I'm just going to ask if you could please put yourself on mute so that we don't have the feedback. Jovi, you could do that as well. You could do the mute. If you do all the mute.
A reminder for what to pick up.
Can't. You want to try to be able to explain rules as clear as possible, be very specific, talk about what tasks they need to complete before they go on to the next thing. You want to definitely try to work with the child's strengths. A lot of times we focus on the deficits and the areas of weakness, but we really want to highlight what's working. Written language, if they can read, pictures, definitely pictures of things that are familiar to them as well. So I'm going to show you some videos.
So the timer's all done. So we're going to be done coloring.
Let me play this one first, sorry.
I can't find the picture of
So
Matt.
Oliver, set the timer. And first you're going to do some coloring. And then you're going to go on the computer for music class.
And then we're going to have lunch.
And then we'll have lunch. So the timer's all done. So we're going to be done coloring. And then what do we have next? We're going to go back on the
Computer channel.
for music class.
What
Okay.
was wrong for how much minutes?
For 30 minutes. You want to set the timer for 30 minutes?
That's a half a minute.
Half an hour.
Is that?
All right, let's go log in.
I can't find the picture of
So
Matt.
Oliver, set the timer.
So the video kind of illustrates not only that the visual helps, the timer was helpful, but also integrating the child and reviewing it with the parents and setting up the timer themselves. It's just another helpful way to incorporate the child in that decision making, and also having the ability to kind of move around and work through that schedule. I'm sorry. So you want to set up the schedule so that they could follow along during your time with them. It could be from watching a movie to having to go outdoors or setting up to play a game. You want to try to follow the same schedule routine that would be followed by the family. And if it's going to change, because sometimes families allow for some extracurricular activities and some fun times, then you want to make sure you have permission from the family to do so. And there's some examples in the SICK kit. You want to use a schedule with pictures or words to help move from one activity to the next. And a lot of times we don't think about it, but first then cards can be helpful to motivate the child to complete an activity. So we'll see another video. Oh no, hold on. Let me see if I can play it. Jovi, if you have access to that video, can you put it in the link? Can you put the link on the chat box just in case? Wait, I think I got out of it. Yeah, it's not letting me open it. Oh, well.
Sorry, I'm talking here. It's doing the same thing for me.
Okay. So you'll have, again, this kit, and we'll be sure to forward it to you. It'll be a digital kit. So this is an example from the kit as well, and you just kind of saw the timer being used. So morning, afternoon, and evening, those transition tips, and what are the activities that are allowed. This is an example of a visual schedule. You know, get dressed, eat breakfast, brush your teeth, and then the child can kind of move it over once it's been done, so they helps them kind of track it. This is what the first end cards I mentioned.
Yo, we don't have your screen.
Oh, thank you. Hold on, let me go. Sorry about that. Technology can be great, but sometimes we have glitches. Let me go back to show you. So this is the sheet that I mentioned, the visual schedule, and the first end cards. And in this, you know, sometimes kids have a harder time when they have to move on to a non-preferred task. So reading to Legos, it sounds like it'll be more fun for a child than going from Legos to reading. So keep that in mind. And then this is just a visual of using the timer.
Okay, bud. The timer went off. So basketball is
Check.
all done. Then now we have
Mrs. Varela.
Mrs. Varela and then
Break.
break.
So it's just a good way to kind of illustrate, again, the parent asking the child and the child,
bud.
oh no,
The time.
knowing what they can expect next. This is it. Oh no. I don't know technology today. This is another video.
Hi. How old are you now?
5.
You're not 5. Yeah, good boy. You're 7. And who's that next to you?
Dante.
Yes, that's Dante.
Tony.
And you're Tony. That's right.
Tony has a star roller.
Do you want your car back?
Car back.
Promise not to throw it. All right, here you go. You can have the car back. What do you say?
Thank you.
Good boy.
The car's broken.
No, that's not broken. No, you don't want to take the wheels off.
broken.
It's not broken, Tony.
Fix. The car's broken.
Do you like going to school?
You like broken?
Jackie, don't touch that.
Is it sad?
That's dirt.
Sad.
It looks like sand, yes.
So walk.
Go for a walk then. Dante, go chase your brother.
Back to wow, it has legs.
Yes, that's where it has a Lexus. Do you like Mummy's new camera? What color is it?
Pink.
It's pink. And what else?
Black.
Yeah, good boy.
Brown.
Your car's brown. And what color are the tires?
Black.
Black. What color is Dante's singlet? One? What color is it?
Green.
Green. Good boy.
You wanted your brown?
Okay, Tony, say bye-bye to the camera.
Bye-bye to the camera.
How do you wave properly?
Bye-bye to the camera.
Good boy.
So that's a way that they may communicate, but I did want to stop and ask for a second if you have experienced this type of limited communication with your child, and maybe share an experience or what you do in order to engage your child who may have limited communication skills. Or it could be that the child is nonverbal, so if they're using some form of assistive technology, would you like to share out? Feel free to talk or raise your hand or put it in the chat box. Nobody has a story to share? So I'll try to see if this one will play for us. Oh, it is now playing. No, it's now saying it's unavailable. Try one more time. Nope. Okay.
I'll share a bit of a quick story. I know that when Anthony early on, when he wasn't communicating, we did sign language, and that was the first form of communication that we had. And that way we were able to get his needs met and his wants met early on. And then he started talking later on. So then we didn't need the sign language anymore, but that was our first mode of communication. And I mean, we had the tantrums, right? Because he couldn't communicate, and we had no idea what he wanted, if he wanted juice, if he wanted water, if he was hungry. So it was a process of elimination. We would put food or drinks, and then, they would get thrown to the floor or to the ground, or thrown because it wasn't what he wanted. So, some children use PECs or AAC devices. So, but I mean, he at this point he does talk, and we're able to have conversations and things of the sort.
Thank you for sharing. And if you don't know what PECS is, it's the picture exchange communication. So there's low tech technology, and then there's high tech technology, which could be the use of an iPad or the Proloquo for the child to communicate. So Jovi, the next slide.
The chat here. When I say hi, this is from Tiffany. When I say hi, Zoe, to my daughter, she will repeat hi, Zoe, instead of saying hi, mommy. If I ask, how are you? She would just repeat and not answer the question.
Thank you. For,
Go ahead.
no, I just said thank you for sharing.
And that is something quite common in children with autism. It's called echolalia, and it's not them communicating. Yes, they're speaking, but it's not actual communication. They're just repeating what you're saying.
So do you want to take over this slide, Joby?
Yes.
Okay.
Give me a moment. I'm just making my screen a bit bigger here so I can see. Okay. So how do kids with autism, how do they talk? How do they understand? They use 1 to 2 words or no speech at all. Repeat same words, which is what Tiffany, what you're referring to, which is echolalia. Repeat the same words or sentence more than one time. May talk about one topic, maybe hyper-focused on one topic. Difficulty having conversations. So that is that give and take of a conversation. They're very dry at times. You may ask a question and it's very yes or no, even if you're looking for more conversation. Like, hey, how was your day today? Good. What'd you do in school? What did you do in school? Nothing. That sort of thing. How they understand. Difficulty in answering questions, especially open-ended questions. More concrete questions, it's easier for them to follow. Difficulty following directions. So one direction at a time. I know for my son, even to this day, it is very difficult for me to say, hey, get your shoes, get your jacket, and get your lunchbox. I have to do one step at a time. Get your shoes, he's completed that, get your jacket, or give him a list to complete. Difficulty understanding facial expressions and body language. Understanding when someone is joking, laughing versus when someone is upset. That is a difficulty. Use of expected behavior to tell what they want or need. So for instance, and I think this is an example, they may use when their needs are not being met, sometimes they use behaviors, right? And that is when they're trying to get their needs met or a want met, but they're unable to express that. Helpful hints to support communication. Review the SIP preparation guide for success strategies to use. SIP preparation kit is on page 13, which this is for communication. And just give me a moment here. I have to open up my slide with communication.
Are you not able to see my screen?
I see it really, really small.
Okay.
What page is that?
30.
Okay.
Do you want me to stop sharing and you share?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Let's see, it's right here. Okay, so the communication, and again, this page, all of this information will be on your SIP kit. It will be on your link, but the best way to communicate with me. So this gives you a way for the parent to let you know what is the best mode of communication for this child. Is it PECS? Is it an AAC device? Is it sign language? Is it a note? Is the best way that they communicate. Some children have hypersensitivity with touch. So even touching them on the shoulder as a way of communication may not be appropriate for a child. So knowing what mode of communication works for them is very important. Things I usually say to get my needs met. So it could be sometimes as echolalia and they're just repeating the same thing over and over. And it may be water, but they're not saying water, they're saying cup. So, you know, the parent might say, if you hear him say or her say cup more than once, it's that they want this. So that's a good way for you to know and have an idea of what they're looking for. Toileting, hunger, feeling tired. So what does that look like for the child when they're hungry, then when they need to use the bathroom, when they're tired, when they're not feeling well, and other reasons of ways that they communicate to let you know. Okay. Using the I want card from SIT. Again, this is everything is in your packet and you can laminate it. So this is just an example. You can laminate it and then you can use the pictures, which will also be in your kit. And you would cut these out and you could put a Velcro on it and you can let them choose. You don't want to give too many options to confuse them. So 1 to 2 options is appropriate. So you can say, pick, of course, the SIT kit will let you know what are their things of interest. So you would pick those things of interest for them, and then they can pick which one they would want to do.
I'm gonna see if it works, okay? Yeah, what is going
We
on?
went through these earlier today.
Did we?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and they worked at that time. Okay, how they play: difficulty taking turns, sharing or playing games, may fear new places or people. Remember, they're creatures of habit, their routines. It's going to new places, meeting new people. That can be overwhelming. Likes to be alone, often play beside someone but play by themselves, may like to have favorite objects. Like Gio said, a blanket, a baño, which is something it's a blanket that they're close to. It could be a toy, it could be a stuffed animal. Giggle, laugh, scream when playing, and use toys in odd ways. So it could be that they're using something inappropriately and they're playing with the toy inappropriately. It's different than imaginative play. It's just the way that they're using the toy is not appropriate.
This one's lining up objects.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
So again, the SIT kit will provide this information, some strategies to use for successful strategies for social interactions. And let me go here.
Pages 14 to 18.
Yep. So this will be leisure play. So what are my favorite games? What are my favorite things to do? And you want to make sure that you have this information and you've read this, because you don't want to bring up a game that may be something that they don't like. For instance, an example, a game that may be too loud and they have sensory, and the noise is going to be too loud for them. So you want to make sure that you're picking games that are appropriate so that we're not causing behaviors or causing any dislike to the child. What do they like to play? How long do they play for? What do I like to do? What do I like to watch? So what are my favorite shows, favorite songs? What to avoid, right? Really big. What things to avoid? What games to avoid? What activities to avoid? Stimming, what it looks like. So for my son specifically, he hummed most of the day. He hummed when he ate, he hummed when he was doing any activity. So when he was focused, he was humming. And that was his way to sort of, centralize himself. And that was his way. Some people tap their pens or move their legs. That was just his way of getting him centered. Is the stim allowed? There's certain stimming that is harmful to the child. So therefore you have to, make sure that whatever stimming is going on, that it is what is allowed and what's not allowed, and for how long. So for my son, and there's special instructions for that as to what to do if it's longer than this, what could you do? My son no longer hums, but he's replaced that with something else. So it might look differently later on. So siblings, name and ages of the siblings is important to know that information as well, especially if you're watching more than one child, what they like to do with their siblings. So what is appropriate for them to do with their siblings, and what do they like to do together as a family? General house rules, very important, right? He's not allowed to go to the basement, or he or she's not allowed to go into this room for, and for what reason. You have to have that information so that you're not just making assumptions and say, hey, they go to the basement because they know parents are not home. And then you have a different issue to worry about. So it's important that you know what are the house rules. That could be, the refrigerator. That could be snacks. That could be any of those type of things. What are the house rules? And then the homework routine. If you're watching during homework, what homework gets done, how it gets done, what is the time frame for the homework, and if there's any, and of course, if there's special instructions regarding the homework. How to gauge a child with autism. Use activities of interest, of course. And in the kit, you will have pictures that have some pictures there that you can use. However, you can pick any pictures you want and choose, or any activity that is not in the SIT kit, you can choose anything you'd like, download it, print it, and use that for your choice. If it's something that that there's an activity that you don't find that's in there. Engage with a toy of their ultimate preference. What do they like? Power of choice. It is very important that you give that child that independence of having them choose what it is that they want to do from those choices that they have. And again, don't give them many choices, but it's important for them to choose and have that independence to choose something that they would like to do. You can use a timer, a visual timer. There's several timers that you can find. They sell them at Walmart, anywhere. You can use a baking timer if you'd like, right? And you can use that timer so that they are aware of how much time they have to do that activity. For example, maybe they have to do homework, and to get them to do their homework, you can say, use the first and then token system, or that's on the SIT kit, and you can say, hey, we're gonna do your homework, but let's do this activity first, or we're gonna do some homework and then we get to do this activity for 2 minutes, and they have the timer to see how much time they have to do that. This allows them to mentally transition before the actual transition, and this avoids behaviors. It allows them to kind of break away from the preferred activity to do something that is less preferred.
Also to reward with positive behaviors, praise, tokens, stickers.
These are your choices, bud. You can either do basketball, go for a walk, or play soccer right now. Which one do you want to do?
Play basketball.
Play basketball.
Come here.
Okay, bye.
No.
The core challenge, theory of mind. So children on the spectrum tend to be just me thinkers, right? They tend to seem self-centered, very sometimes egotistical, right? Because they don't understand the other people's perspective, and sometimes that is very difficult to have them process and understand that. And this is just part of how they process and think. It's a bit difficult to help them see that perspective from a different point of view. So sometimes, it's all about me, and that's just the way that it comes across. Not that that's how they want to be, but that is just the way that it comes across. So these are the SIT top 10 lists for success. Structure, 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 right? So your SIT kit gives you a lot of structure with the forms that they provide to you. You reading those forms and getting acclimated and asking questions to follow that structure, to avoid any problems during that time that you're with the child, for yourself and for the child. Be predictable. You have a schedule, be consistent. You have the use of visuals, which you will get in your SIT kit. And these are all things that will help support while you're doing, providing the care for the individual. Provide warning time, that timer. It's going to be, again, that structure, right? The timing, the schedule, the predictability. This is what they thrive on. Give short and clear directions. So do not give multiple directions. It confuses. And sometimes even while you're having to repeat the directions, they're sometimes still stuck on the first one. So give them time. Do one direction, then provide the next step, and provide a list if you need to, and use the tools that we have provided. So you have the first and then, and you can list several first and then. So first we're gonna have dinner, then we're gonna brush our teeth, then we're gonna do this, and that will help the process. Limit verbal language, so very short interactions and conversations. Limit time for child to answer, leave time for child to answer, I'm sorry. Sometimes it takes them time to process, and that's okay. And give them that time to answer before you're asking or repeating yourself, because then they have to process that all over again. Be understanding and supportive, and support with humility. In summary, again, I know that there was a question just recently about the slides. So you will obtain all this information in your slides. You can use them as you wish. So for instance, we have a laminated copy, but you can use dry erase markers. You can use any timer that can be modified to what your needs are. So for instance, if there's an activity or schedule something that, if you do karate and you can find a karate picture online, make it to modify it for your child's needs and what your child uses. Does anyone have any questions or anything that they would like to add?
I'm gonna put on the chat box the link to the sick kit,
Mhm.
but I'm also gonna show it to them now. That's what I was doing. So they have a chance to look at it. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So we'll go through the different sheets. Hopefully if it lets me do it. So this is something that you can take and you can cut up and you can laminate and you can copy it on colored paper. Then we have, oh no. I don't know why it's doing this. I'm sorry, guys. It's redirecting me. And I know for Kevin, I'm gonna also send the Spanish one, but I think there's another person that may benefit from it. I saw Nurka is on there. And these are the choice boards. So this is a how-to template if you want to create your own. And as you can see, it gives you like little pictures. But as I said earlier, when you look at pictures, sometimes if it's a favorite meal and you take an actual photo of it, they may be more likely to use it than these cartoonish looking ones. So keep that in mind that for some kids, it may be more helpful.
And you can even use pictures of the individual themselves doing the activity. So if it's watching a certain movie, is it doing a certain activity, you can take a picture of them doing that activity.
Yeah,
So that it can be more relatable to them.
absolutely. I don't know why it doesn't let me go back, so I'm just gonna not get out of it. Oh, because it's not letting me to go back. And then they have how-to templates for the visual schedules, the choice boards, the I want, and then there was the pictures for you. This is the set prep kit. I think this one has multiple sheets. So you'll be able to see all the different sheets that it has that we went over. Again, you can print them out on color paper. You can laminate them and make them reusable. So you'll have access to all of this. You can also share the link with others. So don't feel like you can't share this with someone else. We really want to make sure that families have access to this information. It is really not cooperating. And I want to make sure that after this, you know that you're going to be getting a link also to do a post survey. Hopefully you did the pre-survey, but then you'll have a chance to do the post survey so that someone has this information. And I was trying to see where they had the little picture icons. I think it may be this one. So here's the sample of a visual schedule, how to use the first end cards, the visual timers, choice boards. And please keep in mind that it doesn't have to be anything fancy. A lot of times families feel like they have to have like something really fancy, and they don't need anything fancy. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna put here again in the chat box for the survey. Please complete it. And then I'm gonna launch a poll in regards to this session for you guys to answer. But this is a chance where now you can ask questions, you can share experiences, kind of let us know what you're thinking. And we want it open up to you guys. Oh, I was gonna do the link for Kevin in Spanish. I almost forgot. So do you guys have any questions for us that we could answer? You want to share out?
Steve just shared, he's saying, thank you, Kiomari and Joviana, for your presentation. Our grandson's mother is very much his best advocate and has employed much of what you spoke of. I very much appreciate your efforts to spread awareness and strategies that make a difference.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. And please know that this is not the end all. This is probably for some folks, kind of a review of what they're already doing. Maybe it kind of cemented the idea like I should try this again. A lot of times families try things and they don't work out and they're like, well, this just doesn't work for our family. And maybe, yes, at that time it just didn't work. But maybe, you know, it's been 6 months, it's been a year, and you go back to it, and maybe they're at a place where they can receive it differently and work with the new strategies in a different way. So don't give up. I remember years ago, my son had visited my brother. My brother was living in Arizona, and he took him to the bowling alley. And because every Tuesday it was, you know, family night, and my brother called me from the bowling alley and he said, "What is wrong with your son?" And the bowling alley had these doors that they would open up. And as soon as they open up, they had the AC like blowing in your face. So my son has sensorial needs. So he would just stand there. And of course, the doors would open and close. And then he would have the fresh air blowing into his face. And I'm like, well, you know, he's on the spectrum. Like he just can't turn it off. And for years, he just could not go to a bowling alley. And now he does go. I mean, yes, he has to have headsets and we have to make some accommodations for him. He's now 18. But now we see him enjoy things that before he just couldn't. And you know, I remember being so afraid of sending him with my brother because a lot of family wouldn't want to take care of him because of his needs. You know, he would hide under tables, he would hide inside toy boxes. And here's my brother's like, no, I have it. I have this under control. And everything I said don't do, he did. I told him, you know, my son can't handle going to big stores. So like going to a mall was hard. Well, he would take him on Fridays to the mall because that's what they did. So sometimes even with good intentions, right? Families sometimes make mistakes. So hopefully by having this kit, you have something concrete. Maybe you already have stuff in writing, but you have it all in one place. So anyone that's working with your child can see it, can review it, can have access to it. What I would say is don't just give it to them, go over it with them. Make sure if they have any questions, they feel like they can ask you to clarify anything. So keep that in mind. Anybody else want to share? Do we have any comments on the Facebook Live?
Can I
Yeah.
ask a question?
Of
This is
course.
Stephen.
Hi,
Yes, sir.
Stephen.
Yeah, I'm starting the learning all these challenges right now. My kid son is about 4.5 years old. Lady in the daycare, he's starting wear no shoes, barefoot. So right now it's becoming a safety and hygiene issue. Even at home when he was 1 or 2 years old, after 2 years old, he tried to wear no shoes because at home we didn't think that much until later at school. It become that kind of behavior. That's what got our attention. We think maybe some ASD symptoms on my son. So I'm just wondering, how can you train a kid like this at this age wear shoes in the classroom or at home? Because right now we bought so many shoes to have him try. He doesn't care. He keeps saying it's itchy or hot, but I think he just played the game. He doesn't want to wear. But when he in the playground, if we force him to wear it, he basically into play. He totally forget about it. But only at home or at a classroom, sometimes he's kind of laid back, nothing going on. He decided he doesn't want to wear shoes.
Is he having a chance to pick out the shoes, or are you guys picking out shoes for him?
Mostly we purchase shoes by my wife, and we pick up those shoes. He really like the ocean animals. So we try to a dinosaur. So we try to pick up those shoes with that kind of figure. But for some reason, he only probably like it for like a day or two, and then after a while, he just lost the interest. He still, I think it's maybe some sensory issue on his food or something. We haven't started testing yet. We're kind of thinking. So my wife just started buying some very special like a socks for him today. We haven't tried it yet, but I just want to see if anybody have any experience dealing with that kind of kid.
Is your son getting services through occupational therapy for OT?
Yeah, we just starting that, and actually after we basically when a daycare teacher brought those up, it kind of shocking to us. Be honest with you, I have no idea my son would behave like that when at school because of what I was told. And starting a couple months ago, he's starting to just isolate himself from the rest of the group. The kid, he didn't participate the group activity. Even a teacher tried to encourage him to participate. He just like to play his own toys because we try to don't have him to bring toy, but he had the daycare teacher have a lot of problem if we don't allow him to bring his own toys from home to school. So like a fish, some dinosaurs. So we allow him to do, but once he bring those toys as the daycare school, he lose the focus. He only want to play his own toys. Yeah, he doesn't want to care anything else. And so that's what I see. Sometimes I don't know how to balance. I try to help the school, but sometimes I feel if you bring those toys, and it's very hard to teach him to pay attention. I don't know. It's just starting, so I'm still in the learning experience right now. See how other parents would deal with this kind of behavior. For us, he just doesn't have a good listening skill. He very easy got distracted, so he doesn't want to focus. If you try to teach him something, you got to try very hard. Otherwise, he's very easy get distracted.
How old is he, Steve?
I want to challenge your thinking when you say that. I saw Kevin wanted to say something. Kevin, what would you want to say?
I was just asking how old his son was.
4.5.
He's 4.5, yes. Okay.
Well, I think one of the things you need to take in consideration is the developmental stage for a 4-year-old. There's pretty consistent whether they're on the spectrum or not. And I think you're right about the sensory issues that he may be having with his feet. And I think it's, from my personal experience, I've worked with the kids at school, and to keep them, just stable, it may be, you may want to talk to his provider about giving him opportunities where he can take his shoes off. Yeah, right now, I think they allow him taking shoes off, but I think starting last week, from the photo I took, because I couldn't step in the facility right now because of COVID. From the photo they took to share with us, he basically wear no shoes at the school right now. Well, that's great. And today I saw his feet get some bleeding, so I know he probably stepped on something. Yeah.
So it's interesting you say that, because I know some daycares have a policy that in the classroom you don't wear shoes so that you don't bring dirt and stuff from the outside into the classroom. And then they allow some indoor shoes to be worn that they're not being used outside at all. Maybe that's a consideration, like an indoor shoe versus an outdoor shoe. Yeah. Kevin, you were gonna say something?
I think probably me then. I would say the teacher asked us to bring a clog shoe for him. So he preferred to wear clogs right now. But after a few minutes, he just threw all those away barefoot. But when they get out, the daycare teacher do force him to wear the sneakers. So that, because of safety concerns, so they do enforce him to do that. But I think even he doesn't want to, like sometimes I know in the playground, sometimes he try to take his shoes off as he know, and then he have to wear it. When he play, he just forget about those.
So what I will encourage you to do is, if you are working with an OT, make sure you talk to them, because they may be able to give you some strategies to work with him in regards to his sensorial needs. And then when
Okay.
I said earlier that I wanted to challenge your thinking is, it's not so much that he's not a good listener, right? It's just that he has certain needs, and it's almost like you're not in the same frequency, AM and FM. So you guys are not kind of communicating kind of aligned. What I would try to say is that that behavior is, he's kind of telling you that he has a need that's not being met. And you know, it could be that the shoes make his feet sweaty or hot or itchy, as you mentioned. So you want to try to help him if possible. I know he's little. Go to a place where you're comfortable, right, based on your budget, so that he can look at shoes and maybe give him the chance to pick out his shoes. He may be
Okay.
more willing to wear them if he's picking out the shoe. I have 4 sons, and I remember when they were really young, they loved shoes, specifically sneakers that have like the cartoons that kind of were in the style at the time. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was big for them. Power Rangers, I'm kind of dating myself now, but I know for a lot of kids, when they have a chance to have some ownership into what they wear, they may be more prone to wear it and wear it
I see.
everywhere. Comfort shoes, you know, you mentioned the Crocs. The Crocs have these little oh my God, what do they call them? They're like these little pins that you can put on the Crocs, maybe giving him a chance to kind of put whatever pins he likes. So they have like Disney characters, superhero characters. Maybe that'll help, like if he gets a chance to decorate the Crocs, he may want to wear them so he can show off the little clip. That comes to mind, but I definitely would encourage you to speak to the OT. And Kevin, I think you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, have you tried bedroom shoes, like the bedroom shoes, the soft insole?
No, I haven't, but I do. We have a probably, I would say 10 pair of shoes for him now, even at home, with different color, different style, and some like a bedroom shoes, like a soft in the winter. But he's kind of sensory issue is even in winter. We had hardwood floor, both first and second floor, right? He doesn't mind just barefoot even in the winter. So this is very unusual compared to the other kids. So I think definitely he's some sensory issue. Yeah, I'll take the advice. Maybe have him to go to the store. Is any particular store you think is good for the kid to pick up shoes? And
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, since he's little, you want to think cost effective, because if he's a kid that may wear it only for a small amount of time, you don't want to go crazy and spend a lot of money. But it's funny you mentioned the Crocs, because my son's on the spectrum and he loves his Crocs. He's 18 and he ordered a bunch of pins. Like I literally have like about 100 pins. I mean, even like a little egg, little superheroes, and he literally just decorates his Crocs.
I see.
And
So
he can
Crocs
like
shoes,
change them up because they have the little holes. And I know Crocs have also come up with different styles. So I know Kevin mentioned like household slippers. So some of the Crocs now have like the lining. And they even have Croc sneakers. I don't know if you know this, but they do have Croc sneakers. So you may want to try to see what else is out there if he likes that style, or maybe the comfort of the type of shoe that it is. I mean, like, look at all these little fun things.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know.
Yes, I mean, we have literally like 100 of these things, and he just changes them up, and it makes him happy, and then I'm happy. But because you mentioned that he takes them off and in school, you may want then to have a doctor's note so they can work with you if he doesn't want to wear a harder sole shoe and the daycare says no, he has to. Maybe with the doctor's note, they're willing to accommodate that as an accommodation. So think about that. I mean, it's a little bit of work on your part to get a doctor's note, but it shouldn't be that hard for you to get. That comes to mind, but definitely working with the OT and figuring out. And then if you were to get shoes, I mean, I don't know how you feel about secondhand stores, but I know in New Haven, I mean, not New Haven, Milford, they have Once Upon a Child. So they have stores, because you want to try stuff out first. So before you make the investment on specialized shoes, maybe you can try something from one of those places. That comes to mind. I was trying to see if on Facebook there were any comments.
Michelle has a comment.
Yeah,
you.
Steve, what worked for us in my family when my daughter had that kind of issue is I went to Walmart and I got a white canvas sneaker It's like a shoe. It's a rubber sole shoe, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was canvas. It was plain white, and I got a box of markers, and I told her to go decorate her shoes and
Oh.
do any kind of designs in it. But I also made a big deal about it. We took pictures. We posted it
Mm-hmm.
all over the place. Every time she went out, I would say to a stranger, "Don't you love these shoes? They rock.
Mm-hmm.
I want them."
Mm.
So like really encouraged them, that way that might help. But the
Okay.
canvas shoes, I think they're only like $4 or $5 at Walmart. They're just a
Okay.
plain white canvas shoe, and you
Let me
can
see.
decorate it any way you want. You can even tie dye them,
Okay.
and that seemed to work for us.
Oh, good. So how old was your daughter that time? Mm-hmm.
She's 26 now, so maybe about two,
Wow. Okay.
two,
Even 2 years old, huh? Okay.
two or three.
It took like a year or two for her to get comfortable. Uh-huh.
No, hun,
No,
it took a while.
it worked well.
It took a while. But then she
Okay.
just kind of like outgrew it. Just one day she, picked up the pair of sneakers that she liked and put them on, and out the door she went.
Wow. Well, how old was she when she's outgrew that time?
I would say maybe about 6, 7.
6, 7. Okay. Good to
Yeah.
know. I appreciate the info, Michelle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It takes time. You just got to be patient and just,
Mhm.
go with it. And when they do something, positive, like, he puts the shoes on himself, make a big deal about it, you know,
Okay.
pictures, take videos, clap, do, whatever. And
Okay.
that's what I did. And it just seemed like, just one
Hmm.
day, all of a sudden we were going out the door and she had her shoes on. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, let's go. you know, so
Thanks for sharing, Michelle. That's a
you're
very good encourage. I gotta tell my wife because my wife's kind of depressed.
no, don't get depressed. It'll take time. Trust me. You're not the only parent. You're not the only one who's gone through it. It will take time. Just be patient, and eventually they'll outgrow it. If you don't make a
Oh,
big deal about it, they'll outgrow it. You
okay,
know.
good to know. Thank you so much. Mhm.
You're
And
welcome.
I also want to say that some kids don't outgrow it, right? They just make accommodations to their needs.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind. I know it probably seems weird or different, probably even frustrating, especially if you have special events and you want them to wear a particular type of shoe.
Mhm.
But just keep that in the back of your mind. Like each child is different and they have different needs, and you just want to support them where they're at. Um,
Mhm.
so don't rush the process, but be mindful that they are communicating a need, even though it's a behavior. They are communicating a need, and we just have to figure out what works for your child. I do want to add that on Facebook there were some comments, and I want to make sure that we honor those as well. Maribel Rodriguez wrote, "My name is Maribel, and I work in early childhood where we have a lot of special need kids this day, and also have my son. We have special needs too." Christine Agosto wrote, "I have been using timer on my phone. Yes, sometimes I give a reminder, but sometimes it leads to a meltdown. Yes, my son is way too picky. His meal choices are very limited. Um, and sometimes that does happen. A lot of kids who have sensorial needs, they really keep their food menu very, very limited." Maribel Rodriguez wrote, "Can I get this page? Please email me." So we did send the links. Giovanna put them on the Facebook page under Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. So you have both links, Spanish and English. And Edith Suarez also wrote, "Can I get the links in both Spanish and English?" So I just want to make sure we put that. And I know Beth Ann also wrote, because I saw her message. No, I can't seem to locate it. So I want to make sure we have that there as well. So I just want to make sure we include everybody's messages. Any questions or anything else that, what is the Facebook page name? Oh, I'll put this for you. And the page is Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. And we also have what is it, a YouTube channel? So if you guys ever want to look at previous stuff, because Stephen, just so you know, we have actually done some videos, if I'm not mistaken, on sensory But you'll see it through our YouTube channel. Let me put it
Okay.
for you guys here so you have.
Definitely will visit. If you don't mind, I do have another question. If nobody else will have a question.
No, feel free to ask. If you want, I can
So,
give you my contact information if you feel you need, you know, if you want
Okay.
confidentiality.
oh, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, this is just beginning stage for us. I still try to understand what that means to my kid and to us, and how can I help them. Yeah. Mhm. So one another issue my kid is motor skill delay. He doesn't have any interest doing any like a bicycle or the normal boys like that kind of activity, like a sports like. And playground running is fine, but when he do the slide, sometimes he feel fear. But when he sit on my lap, is fine. And I started teaching him, learning all the kind. He seems he's a good kid. If he listen, he can learn those. But he show no interest riding the bike or those. I try to teach him to show interest, but I I just don't have a good skill. Looks like and convince him to get engaged. Right now, I'm buying like a bicycle, there's the scooters, because of when he sees some other kids are playing, he like to. But when he try, just 2 minutes and then he give up. Mhm.
So, yeah.
I was gonna give some feedback just because I went through that with my son. So go ahead, and then I'll share what we did.
So I was just gonna go back to what what's his name? He left us. Stephen, I think. Kevin had shared with us about ages and stages. So you may be thinking because of his age, he may be ready for certain things, but I will say to you that it's all relative to where your child is at. So even though he may be a 4.5-year-old, he may developmentally be at a different stage. So you want to honor that as much as possible, only because you may be pushing him beyond what he's ready to do right now. And that may add to the frustration, and it may be why he's resistant to doing some of the things you would like him to do. So I would say try to follow his pace. Obviously, introduce him to it, bring him around kids that are using a bike or things that you would like him to try. Because if he's seeing other kids, he may want to model some of that behavior. But I will encourage you to think about where is he right now and what things interest him. Because some kids that are on the spectrum, they're very hyper focused on things that only interest them. And if it's not something that he's interested in, he just may not engage. And it would be normal for him. So even though we think, well, it's not typical, but for him, it would be very normal for him not to want to do things that require, you know, big physical movements. So keep that in mind. And you were going to say something, Jovi?
Yeah, that it's also that those physical movements when you have, you know, kids on the spectrum sometimes tend to have low muscle tone. So the actual work of riding a bike or doing excessive, to us it may not be excessive, right? Him riding the bike, but to him it may be excessive in the sense that it causes him a lot of work to do it because of the poor muscle tone. So for instance, my son, he prefers not to do any sport because it actually is a lot of work for him to do that. So he does ride a bike now, but it wasn't at 4, and it took a little bit, it took a while for us to get him to ride a bike, and he does do it, but he doesn't do it to the point of his siblings who do not have autism or don't have the poor muscle tone. So just keep that in mind too, that for him, that is a lot of work. And even if it's just something that he just goes down the driveway eventually, celebrate that, because to him it's a lot of work, or it could be a lot of work, and it may exhaust him faster than it would, another child.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other parent would like to share their experience as well with that? Because sometimes hearing from other families could be helpful. So I did share my contact information, my email, and my direct number. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions after this. You can also visit our website. We have videos from different learning opportunities, so feel free to check that out. cpacinc.org. I also shared the link to YouTube so that you guys can have it and look at previous videos and stuff that we've done. Tomorrow, we're actually going to have Brian Klimkowitz on a call at 5:30. We are going to Facebook Live it as well. If you want to join through Zoom, you have to register. And if you just want to log on into our Facebook page, you can do so without having to register. And it's just kind of an update of where we're at today in the impact of COVID for kids in special education. So to kind of be a nice update for families, and it'll be a chance for you to ask questions. We're only going to have them for an hour, so keep that in mind. We will have subtitles in Spanish. We will have live translation as well. We also do different learning opportunities throughout the month. So we have a Transition Tuesday, and we talk about transition age kiddos. This is for the older kids. And then we also have what's on the menu topic. I know we've done extended school year and we've done other topics, so keep that in mind and check out our Facebook page, because that's where we tend to update upcoming workshops and trainings. We also do list other trainings that may be happening throughout the state. We also try to put as much as possible resources that may be available in the state. So keep that in mind. And if you have questions about something, we have a CPAC support group in Spanish, and then we have another group, I can't think of it at the top of my head. And then we also have Family Connections, and we have Pre-K Pathfinders. So Stephen, that may be something that you would be interested in. So we help families who have kids that are preschool age, 3 to 5 years old, navigate special education. That's called Pre-K Pathfinders. And if you've been a family that's been working with birth to 3 and you would like to be a mentor for new families, we're always looking for mentors. If you are a family that's currently working with birth to 3 and you would like to be a mentee, please let us know, because we really try to connect families with other families so that they feel supported.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll be interested.
Absolutely. So feel free to reach out. And if you don't have any more questions, then I would say, wait, I have to do the poll. I almost forgot the poll. So I'm going to look at the poll.
Tiffany just said this was very informative, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So the poll is 3 short questions. And it's just to see how we're doing and how we can improve. So we really value what you have to share with us. I forgot to share it before Kevin left, but hopefully you guys get a chance to fill it out. So right now we've only had 1, 2 of 8, and I'll share the results so you guys can see what folks are thinking. And after today, if for whatever reason you have trouble opening the link, feel free to reach out, and then we can just email you the link as well.
Okay.
But thank you for joining us, especially on an evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm still missing 4 of you, and I'm hoping we get everyone to complete it as best
Put it
as
back
possible.
up again. I messed up something.
So once we launch it, I can't put it back up, but if you go on the bottom of your page and you scroll over, you'll see like these 3 little towers that it says polls underneath. If you click it, it should bring you back to the poll.
All right. So I'll go here.
Probably should use computer. Using phone is very hard to see.
So if you're using the phone, I know that at the top of the page, I guess, of on your phone, you should be able to see it. Or
poll in progress?
Yes.
I hit that, but I don't bring in everything.
So I think you may have to slide it over.
Okay.
So I know with phones, it could be a little tricky, but thank you for trying, Stephen. I appreciate it.
You mentioned you have a Facebook page. How do I search for you guys?
So I put it here, but I mean, well, I put the name of what you would go under, but I'll put the link for our Facebook page now so that you have it.
Okay. So in the email or in the chat right now?
I'm going to put it in the chat, but hold on.
Okay, let me see. Yeah. Oh, got it. Thank you. Yeah, using phone is very hard to surf on this.
So this is the link to the direct
Okay.
Facebook page.
Okay. I'll open up right now.
And Elena wants the link to join for tomorrow. So let me get that for you. And I look forward to having you guys join the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Because it's just a way to hear what's happening, be a part of the conversation,
Mhm.
and hopefully you're able to log on. So this is the link for tomorrow at 5:30 with Brian Klimkowitz. And thank you for sharing. And being vulnerable and asking questions. I'm sharing the results of the poll for those that were able to respond. Thank you for taking the time to share these responses with us. Again, if there's any issues accessing the link to the kit, feel free to let us know. If you have any questions specific to your child, feel free to reach out. I look forward to seeing you guys in future training sessions and or just conversations that we may have throughout the month. And we always try to bring new topics. So if there's a topic of interest that you haven't seen, feel free to reach out and let us know, hey, I would like more information on this topic, and we'll try either to do it ourselves or to invite someone that can talk about it. So in the past, we've had psychologists, bring topics, occupational therapists, speech therapists. So keep in mind that we really try to, or even reading specialists, to listen to what our families are saying, what they need more of, and try to incorporate it in the work that we do. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Stay safe.